Hey, it's Elysia Stobbe, your Mortgage Millions mentor, and I'm so excited to bring you this weekly training. We have all sorts of info for you it's going to be able to help you get more sales and convert those leads into actual clients. And with me on the call is my partner, Rocco. He has years of sales conversion training, so he's going to get us started.
Yeah, Elysia, I love having before we hit the record button, I love some of the pre-record conversations that we have because, the years that I have in sales, but your expertise in the mortgage industry has certainly taught me a lot in the time that we've been working together. But there is so much overlap between sales psychology and then going into a specific industry. And what we wanted to do on this very first training, there's going to be a series of these that are rolled out over the next couple of weeks. But as you're getting familiar with the app, it's important to really not just know the how on the features, but it's also the why behind the how. And so what we thought the best place to start would really be just understanding the importance of aggregating. Elysia, you talked about leads and how important it is to convert those leads, and they come from our referral sources or wherever they're coming from. But, in order for us to have leads, we have to start with having a database that we can even turn into leads or referral partners, right? And being able to harvest a database is probably the easiest thing that you can ever do in being able to build and grow your business. And being able to find a list from anywhere is one thing. And hopefully you've already started to do that, right? Because it's not hard to find a list of realtors, for example, in your local market. They want to be found the same way that you want to be found. But my guess is that if you have that list, you probably have it segmented out where you have a handful of them in your phone, maybe that you have a handful of them on some CRM platform somewhere, a hodgepodge maybe written down in a notebook or whatever the case may be. But you tell me, Elysia.
Yeah, or a lot of times I see my loan officer coaching clients where they might have them in their phone, but they don't even have them in a category. They don't have notes saved about where they met them, what they talked about, what that realtor's client focus is, what part of town they service. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge for loan officers.
And then just once we've gotten to that point, and we're going to talk with you a little bit about strategy today, because even if you did have the filters and labels, because you'll see, I'm going to encourage you to take advantage of organizing your database and giving you an opportunity to harvest a big database instead of a bunch of little fields and get them all organized in one spot in the app. But having a strategy to be able to reach out and communicate with those people is a really important next step. And often that's where people will fall down the most at in their process of being able to build themselves up if somebody that's an expert and having a lot of credibility in an industry, because they really don't know where to start. And we're going to help you solve that today. I promise if you follow what Elysia and I are going to talk about, you're going to be off to a really good start with this. But once you have people into a database, then what you want to be able to do also is making sure that you not only have a strategy, but you have some reminders about following through with that strategy. Because like you were just reminding me as you're talking about, I talked to this person, maybe I made some notes here and there, but I didn't have a sequential process in order that I can repeat every single time and get into a rhythm of doing something. So that's going to be an important part of what we'll talk about here as well. Elysia, you told me something here, and I want you to restate it so everybody watching this can also feel it the way I felt it. But you told me a little story. You were walking around an office that you were doing some training for with a bunch of loan officers the other day, and mostly the new folks were kind of sitting there twiddling their thumbs maybe a bit more than they should have been and not engaging in the business the way they should be. So just if you can take a second and retell that story.
Sure. It happens all the time. So there were some rookie LOs, and literally there were three of them sitting in an office in front of their computers. And I heard one of them say, "Oh, I have to follow up this realtor, but I don't know what to say." Like, it's not their fault, right? And then they're in it and they have the anxiety that they have to say something, but they don't know what to say, and if it's going to be right, and if it's going to get the engagement they want or the response they want. So the beautiful thing about this app is it solves all of that for the loan officers.
Yeah. And tell me, Elysia, how long have you been in the mortgage industry for?
Ooh, it's this October, it'll be 20 years, 2 decades.
20 years. I know that you've written a couple of best-selling books. I know that you have a large audience. So if I was brand new getting into the industry and I had the opportunity to have the words that you use in being able to reach out and talk with somebody for the first time, that would lower my anxiety and it would also increase my confidence. And when you start to digest some of that, think about that, what's going to do for the person receiving that message on the other end. And I don't care if it's digitally or you verbally use those words, right? Digitally is somewhat hiding behind it, but that's okay. We're just going to nudge you out of the nest a little bit. I want you to know that you won't do that forever because we are in the business of building relationships, not trying to automate them. So everything that this app is designed to do, it's give you a little bit of a crutch there to start establishing those relationships. But ultimately, you're going to take ownership of continuing to build that from there. But I just can't help but to think about a phrase that I learned a long time ago, and I'll just share it here really quick. Is that the worst time to think about what to do and say is in the moment that you have to say it. And the reason why that doesn't work, we talked about this, but the new person there, like in their moment of hesitation, and then maybe they do get the courage up to do it, but if they don't have the right words, two frames are going to collide in a conversation every single time. And what the inexperienced LO is ultimately got some fear of is that the stronger frame is going to crush the weaker frame in that conversation. And so there's that moment of hesitation that stops them from being able to succeed in what they want to do. So in the app, and I'm going to just bring it up here on the screen. If you want to jump in with another quick thought there, I'm going to.
Yeah, absolutely. While you're going to bring it up, I will also say, not only are these are the words and the phrases that I have honed and tweaked for years. In addition, I know a ton of realtors. Yesterday, I was teaching for 6 hours. I'm also on the faculty for Florida Realtors. So I engage with them all the time, and I'm always asking for their feedback. Also, I contacted personally tons of realtors that I know and actually that I don't know, and tested these again over the past couple of months. So it's very there's a lot of research that's gone into this, and I mean, I don't know if science is the right word, but right? It works. Like we've tried it, we tweaked it, we tested it. And it's like I keep saying, it's the easy button. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And so look, let's just do a quick refresher here. In building that database, there's a couple different ways you can get contacts into the app. You can hit the little green circle down the bottom with the picture profile there, and you could just manually add in a person one at a time. But you always have the option to go up in the right-hand corner and hit the import button, and you can start bringing people in right in from your phone. Or if you actually have a large database already on an Excel sheet or a CSV file, you can actually just upload it right into the app from the desktop version of the app. So you just log in and you can go and import your contacts that way. But once you have these contacts in the app, like Elysia was saying here, now you have the ability to assign them any type of label that you want to. Now, these are just some basic default ones that we put in. You can add, change, you can give them multiple labels at one time for your sorting purposes. But the neat thing about that is that now you have that organization component that's missing most of the time. So when I tap on our friend Amir here, and just for the purposes of today, the main thing that we want to be able to do is give you the words to say today. That's what we're talking about, and some of the psychology behind it. So if I want to send Amir a resource, I simply will tap on the black button over there to the right as I scroll up and send resources. And let's assume that he is a realtor prospect, Elysia. I go down to my realtor prospect flow, and I just tap on the plus button. And when I open that up, okay, this is how you harvest a database. You connect, you reach out, and you say something. And it's okay to say it digitally at this point, but you should know who the person is, and you should let them know potentially, hey, I want to reach out and introduce myself time, or something of that nature. So you have that step there. Now, look, a pre-written text might not sound like the best thing in the world, but it is the ultimate conversation starter. And basically what we're doing here, a pre-written text, is that it's going to ask for permission before you start trying to send any over additional information. I'll tell you why that matters in a moment. But here's as simple as the message says, "Hi, Amir, you have a great reputation in the industry, and I'd really like an opportunity to get to know you." Now, that's not a mask for, "Hey, Amir, I am desperate for some business. I'm new in the industry. Can you please send me over your next loan that you might be able to refer my way?"
Right.
Right. And we have some information here. Now, here's the part that we're going to spend the next couple of minutes talking about before we wrap up. I have some information that could protect you from having deals fall apart while in process, and why 72% of mortgage applicants are dissatisfied with their lenders. Can I send it over? Now, that's permission based. The challenge that we are all up against when it comes to sales and creating relationships is what's known as the status quo bias. And for every one of those realtors that are in your database, they have habits and routines that we are trying to disturb, interrupt, and break so we can garner some of that attention. And so these are the words that are going to start that process for you, not just because you're sending out a random message to them, but you're offering insights to potential problems that they face. And even if they know that they already have these problems, the reality is that most of the time they just accept it and deal with it. We talked about the old guy in the chair with his dog sitting on the nail, Elysia, before we hit the record button, right?
Yeah.
And so this is stuff that in your past 20 years, how often have you seen or talked to realtors where they've told you that same thing, where they've had deals fall apart at the table and they are afraid to be hurt worse than they've already been hurt, right?
Yeah, and the thing is too that the statistics from Fannie Mae are actually, and this is in my best-selling book, 48% of loans that are originated actually go to closing. So if you think about it, the average across the country is less than a 50-50 shot at actually closing a loan. And there are many realtors that have huge databases and close a lot of deals a month, but most of your realtors are closing a few deals. And that means that every single deal is precious to them, because sometimes it's the difference between, them living paycheck to paycheck or not. And if you can solve this for them, it takes the anxiety away from them and helps you build a relationship with them that you can actually grow.
And look, if there's a database of a few hundred realtors that you have and you are starting to engage for the very first time on some of this stuff, it would be foolish to think that you are going to have 400 realtors all of a sudden start referring you business. We are looking, remember, sometimes your message has got to land on the right person at the right time. And, and luck will be in your favor if you do business in scale.
Absolutely.
And that's okay,
Sure.
right? And that's
Sure.
okay. But you'll start to develop a reputation for somebody who knows what they're doing. Here's the thing, and I want everybody to remember this: people really don't care about what your solution is until they know they have a problem. And you all have the opportunity to start shining a light on that problem. I can guarantee you, just because you know that what the issues are, and you know that if they did give you a loan to work on, that you would do everything, call them back on time, qualify the deal correctly, and do all that stuff. The realtor that you want to prospect doesn't know that you know that, right? They might think you know that. So by you bringing the problem and shining the light on it in front of them, history and psychology tells us that people will always, once they realize they have a problem, they always go looking for the solution from the person that introduced them to the problem. Right?
Yes, absolutely true, 100%.
And that becomes the game changer for you. And that's why we pointed out in here. Now, if you haven't read the article that we've loaded in here, it's just one piece, and I encourage you to digest it. But it just gives you confidence and credibility to be able to send this message. But at the same time, we've given you a sales page with an article in there that builds up the truth of what we've been able to find, and Elysia wound up sourcing for you. So there's three things here.
It's so great also, if I could jump in, that it's a third party validated source, right? That's like when I just said the stat about Fannie Mae, 48%. That's not me, that's Fannie Mae.
Right.
And the realtors know it. And the 72% is a pain point that they know as well. So it's always great as the loan officer when you can source that third party for validation.
Yeah, and like the status quo bias that we're talking about of them, what we're trying to do is get them changed. Why change? Over the next few trainings, we're going to talk about why change now. We're going to talk about, why change with you, right? Why do you become their partner, right? All these things we're going to build into this, but you have to be able to figure out first is what are the compelling reasons that are going to make them want to change what they're doing. People go to church and they sit in the same spot every time. They go to the gym and they do their same workout routines every single time. And it's just because we are, creatures of habit. And even when we know it's not good for us. So we have to just keep on knocking on the door and saying there's a better way. There's a compelling reason here to change. And that's why we want you to be able to own this information. So when it comes to why change, there are three things that I wrote down. There are three steps to why people change. And the first one just simply being is finding problems and then being able to convey those challenges to somebody, right? Giving them insights and asking leading questions. We're going to talk about questions in our survey next week, but the first thing is scoping the problem. In the past, people used to be solution driven. Somebody has a problem, I'm going to be able to be a solution for them. Today, we have to find the problems for them. The buyers, the realtor, they're already so far into the cycle, right? They're already halfway down the funnel per se, before you even contact them, that you've got to bring new insights to the table to be able to garner their attention. The second thing here is once you've discovered the problem, this is why we want you to read this article that you're going to send to them and maybe do some additional research on your own, is that identify the cause and the scope of the problem, because you are going to have to talk to that person. After I send Elysia this article that I asked to send her and she's like, sure, send it over to me, I do have to follow up, right? And I want to be able to say to her, Elysia, here's why that problem exists at a high level. And you could do that from testimonies. You can say other people we've talked to have told us this. That's how you build they're going to have credibility with you, and that gives you confidence. So you want to, number two, like I said, identify the cause and scope of the problems. And then number three, which is going to lead us into next week's training, is being able to ask the deeper questions that help your referral partners, your buyers feel that painful outcomes of them not taking action on working with you. And we're going to give you a systemic way to ask questions right from the digital survey that we've created, but also maybe give you some words verbally to use as well. Before we wrap up, I'm just going to walk you through a little bit of the how-to, because hopefully you understand the value of the why now. And normally you'd leave a training like this and you'd have to figure out how to write out your text, how you're going to send it to them, all the other things that come before you actually get to execute on the cool information that we just shared with you. But here you don't have to. You have your app, you have your contact in the app, you simply press the button and you have an option there. If I tap on that black button to share that pre-written text, I can email it to that realtor, I can text it to them, or I could send it to them on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever I want to communicate with them on social media. And we are tracking that for you. One more time, we are tracking that for you. So everything that we send to Amir is going to be logged in the activity log here on the dashboard of his contact card, which is just, it's a really good thing that keeps everything in sync. We'll talk about reminders and all the other fun stuff the app does in the future, but just want to make sure that you remember the key takeaways today. Get your database in here. You've got to have a database to start harvesting and start filtering out those that will never do business with you versus those that were, low-hanging fruit that are there right now and have a need, and people that would be willing and open over time to do business with you as you establish value and credibility. And then, Elysia, I know that you've been sending out some little message to them to each day send out a handful of those messages. It won't hurt.
Start with 5.
Nobody's going to bite you.
Yep.
Right?
Upload 5, send out 5 every day. Add 5, send out 5. Add 5, send out 5. I mean, that's 25 contacts a week. I challenge any loan officer to tell me right now if in less than a few minutes a day you're contacting 25 realtors a week. I don't think so. I would say this is the easy button to get it done.
For sure. We know we have to do it. We'll close with our story on the old man that's sitting on his rocking chair on the porch. He's enjoying himself, but he's got an old dog next to him that is barking and growling in pain. And some guy walks by every single day and sees this crazy dog moaning and finally one day, Elysia, he says to the old man on the porch, "What is wrong with your dog?" And the old man just calmly says, "Well, he's sitting on a nail." And the guy says, "Well, why doesn't he get up?" And the old man says, "I don't know. I guess it doesn't hurt bad enough yet." And that's what this exposure process is. We're going to show those realtors where their problems are and amplify it and show them where it hurts. And by the way, we're doing the same thing for you right now. Like we are showing you, you are sitting on the nail if you're not pressing the easy button. And so that can be, used as reference.
I got chills. I'm like, woo. I definitely
So let's get after it for this week, right? And we will be back next week for part 2 of this training. And we're in this March Madness run right here. I hope you're taking advantage of this stuff, guys, because this is top shelf stuff that Elysia's put together for you. And we can't wait to do it again with y'all next week. Bye-bye.